They didn't just want power, they wanted a world erased and rebuilt. How does a terrorist group go from hiding in the shadows to controlling millions of people and declaring a state? Stay with me, because the answer is far more disturbing than you think. Subscribe to History Codex and turn on the notification button. In 2014, a black flag rose over the burning cities of Iraq and Syria. Borders vanished, governments collapsed, armies ran. And in the chaos, a man stepped forward, not as a president, not as a king, but as something far more dangerous, a caliph. For millions, it was a nightmare. For thousands, it was a calling. This is the story of how ISIS rose from the ashes of war, built one of the most feared regimes of the 21st century, and how the world came together to destroy it. But here's the truth: most people don't understand. ISIS didn't just appear. It was created, step by step, mistake by mistake, war by war. The United States invades Iraq in 2003, toppling Saddam Hussein in a matter of weeks. At first, it looks like a victory. But then, everything begins to fall apart. The Iraqi army is disbanded. Government structures collapse. Millions of armed, angry men are suddenly unemployed. And among them are former soldiers, intelligence officers, and extremists, waiting for an opportunity. This decision creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, something begins to grow. An insurgency. Not one group, but many. But one man would stand out. A Jordanian militant. Brutal, unpredictable, and far more extreme than others. His name was Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. Zarqawi didn't just fight the Americans. He had a different vision. He wanted to ignite a sectarian war, a war between Sunni and Shia Muslims. Why? Because chaos would make his movement stronger. So he targeted civilians, bombed mosques, executed hostages on camera. His brutality shocked even extremist groups. But it worked. Iraq began to fracture. Communities turned against each other. Fear spread like wildfire. And in 2004, Zarqawi pledged allegiance to Al-Qaeda. His group became known as Al-Qaeda in Iraq. But unlike Al-Qaeda's global focus, Zarqawi wanted something more immediate: territory, control, a state. In 2006, Zarqawi is killed in a U.S. airstrike. For many, it seemed like the end. But it wasn't, because the idea had already taken root. His followers reorganize. They rename themselves the Islamic State of Iraq. But they are weak, under pressure, losing territory. Then comes a turning point. The U.S. surge and local Sunni tribes turning against them. ISIS, though not yet called that, begins to collapse. By 2010, they are nearly defeated. But history has a strange way of repeating mistakes, because just as they weaken, something else begins. A war next door. 2011. The Syrian civil war begins. What starts as protests becomes a brutal conflict. The government fights rebels. Rebels fight each other. Foreign powers step in, and once again, chaos creates opportunity. The weakened Islamic State of Iraq crosses into Syria. There, they find space to rebuild, to recruit, to train, to expand. And a new leader emerges, quiet, calculated, strategic, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Unlike Zarqawi, Baghdadi is patient. He doesn't just want chaos, he wants power, real power. By 2013, the group evolves again, now calling itself the Islamic State of Iraq and al-Sham, ISIS. And then, everything accelerates. They capture weapons, seize oil fields, take control of cities, and then comes the moment that shocks the world. June 2014. ISIS storms Mosul, one of Iraq's largest cities. Thousands of Iraqi soldiers flee. They abandon tanks, weapons, entire bases. ISIS doesn't just win. They inherit an army's worth of equipment. And then, Baghdadi makes his move. In a mosque in Mosul, dressed in black, Baghdadi declares himself Caliph Ibrahim, leader of all Muslims. And just like that, ISIS becomes something far more dangerous than a terrorist group. It becomes a state. They control millions of people. They collect taxes, run courts, enforce laws. But their rule is built on fear, public executions, slavery, mass killings. Entire communities are erased. And yet, thousands of people from around the world travel to join them. From Europe, from Africa, from Asia. Why? Because ISIS offers something powerful: identity, purpose, belonging, even if it's built on violence. ISIS had grown too powerful, too dangerous, and the world responds. A coalition forms. Airstrikes begin. Local forces, Kurds, Iraqi troops, militias, start pushing back. City by city, ISIS begins to lose ground. But they don't go quietly. They adapt. They inspire attacks abroad. Paris, London, Brussels. The war is no longer just in the Middle East. It becomes global. By 2017, Mosul is retaken. Raqqa, ISIS's capital, falls. Their territory shrinks. Their fighters scatter. And in 2019, the final stronghold collapses. The Caliphate is gone. And Baghdadi, hunted, cornered. He dies during a U.S. raid. The man who declared a new empire ends in a tunnel, alone. But here's the uncomfortable truth. ISIS didn't disappear. It changed. From a state back into an insurgency. Cells still exist. Ideas still spread. Because what created ISIS still exists. Instability, division, war. The Caliphate fell. But the conditions that built it, they remain. ISIS was not just a group. It was a warning of what happens when power collapses, when anger is weaponized, when chaos is left unchecked. It showed the world how quickly borders can disappear and how dangerous an idea can become when people are willing to die for it. The black flag may have fallen, but history has a way of repeating itself unless we learn from it. If you want more deep, cinematic history stories like this, stories they don't teach you in school, subscribe to History Codex. Because history isn't just the past, it's a warning.